Hi, good afternoon. My name is Peter Lennon and today I'd like to talk to you about branding, brand development and how to position your brand in the market and things to consider when positioning your brand in the market and developing your brand proposition. So I've actually got a little presentation today. It's split into three main sections, which is to develop your brand and your vision and to establish your positioning statement in terms of where your brand sits in the market and why, to develop a brand personality and tone of voice, and then once you've got the brand developed and you've established a tone of voice, to produce brand marketing materials and how they will look. So firstly, on the brand, make sure that it communicates its desired target messaging to consumers. So if your brand's informal, friendly, playful, colourful, then your brand design should reflect that. So if you want to represent value in a market, for instance, a lot of brands in that space, like Wilko's is a good example, or use reds and yellows, and that conveys value. Oranges also are used quite often to demonstrate value. EasyJet uses that colour palette quite successfully. Then it's important to identify your target customer segments and to detail what makes a consumer purchase your product. That's really, really important. And then to ensure that there's a consistency between your traditional marketing and your online marketing, and we spoke about that in the marketing planning session. That's really, really important, because if you don't, you're going to confuse your customers in terms of your brand cohesion and recognisability. It's all about consistency when it comes to branding. And then once you've done that, it's really important to make sure that you have a clear set of brand guidelines that everybody in the organisation works to. Mainly it's for the marketing team, but if you've got sort of HR, human resources teams that are looking to convey brand messages, then it's really important that they follow the brand guidelines so everything's consistent. And the brand guidelines is almost like a Bible in terms of everything that you should do in marketing and conveying your brand, and it will detail things like logos, logo size spacing, graphic design principles, colours, type fonts, where to use the brand, where to position a brand logo on a page, etc, etc. It goes on. We'll do another session on brand guidelines because it's quite extensive and it's really interesting. So once you've got the brand guidelines, it's time to create a brand personality and tone of voice, and then to communicate your brand through social media is really important. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. There may be some social media channels you decide you don't want to target because maybe the target audience on those channels is historically younger or older, or isn't quite the target demographic segment that you want. So this is the second point, to identify the target segments and to detail these in a lot more detail. So age, are they heavy users, low users of your product? What other types of products do they like? Where do they shop? What media do they consume? This is all really important to make sure that when you're running a marketing campaign, you're targeting effectively to make sure you return your investment, you get a good return on your investment. So return on investment is a key measure, and ultimately to make sure that you're targeting the right channels where your potential customers are going to be. It's really important to develop a content marketing strategy, and that's all about developing different assets. It may be video, it may be different imagery, it may be different copy texts to use across all of your marketing channels, online and digital as well. Most large companies have huge asset libraries, many different images, graphic designs, different sort of templates. They're all what we call marketing assets, and it's really important to develop those and make sure that they conform to the brand guidelines so you've got that consistency. So content marketing is really important, and we'll talk about that in more detail in future sessions. And then it's really important to ensure that the words that you're using are accurately describing your brand. and many large companies will have almost a dictionary of the type of words that they will use in their marketing campaigns to convey that brand and that brand messaging. When you look at pay-per-click, for instance, there will be a load of target keywords that people may search for that you will have defined, and you will then run campaigns against those target keywords and pay a certain amount per click, and ultimately after a certain amount of clicks hopefully you'll get a purchase or a conversion or a sales lead, and that's why having a keyword strategy is so important. It's really important to ensure that there's a balance between emotive keywords and SEO functional keywords. There's no point writing some content and it's just stuffed with a load of keywords, because it's not going to read very nicely. It's going to not convey the emotion or the essence of the brand, and ultimately it's going to turn likely consumers off. So it's really important to get that balance right. And then the next section is to produce brand marketing materials, and that's to develop template lozenges, pre-designed templates that ensure that the brand is being displayed in a consistent way, but can be reused over and over again over different time periods to make sure that the way the brand is conveyed is consistent, but the creative looks appealing. And you can use those in many different types of media. There's a principle called eye candy, and it's almost looking at the top 20 to 30% is the brand message and the sub-message, so the subtitle. The middle 50% is very much about the eye candy and the imagery and all the rest of it. And the bottom 20% is the call to action, or if you've got more than one call to action, the call to actions that you've got for your campaign. So it's very, very important to refine traditional brand guidelines to simplify them as much as possible. And one way to do that, how I like to work, is to have very minimal secondary colour palettes. So if you define your brand colours and then you'll specify your Pantones or your hex codes for online marketing, it's really important not to have too many secondary colours, because it can get quite confusing and it can actually dilute the value and the strength of the brand and make it harder for consumers to understand what it is that you're selling and how you're promoting your products as well. So to implement online brand guidelines is important, and they need to be consistent with traditional brand guidelines. There's no point having a set of online brand guidelines which use totally different colours from your main brand, because that's just going to again confuse the potential consumer. And then finally, it's looking at sort of tactical sales material, flyers, leaflets, sort of maybe viral videos that you can produce to increase awareness of your brand and the products or services that you sell. And they can be really, really impactful, and you can have a little bit of fun with those and make them quite playful. As long as the brand is conveyed consistently, the colourways are being followed in terms of the brand guidelines, the font standards are, and you're following some sort of template so the creative looks attractive, you can actually, in terms of some of the viral marketing, have a little bit of fun with it as well. And then finally, for this session, the role of promotions. It's really important to look at your industry or sector, or sectors that are quite similar to yours, and look at how your competitors are promoting and seek to take best practice from them in terms of maybe how they're pricing or the type of pricing mechanics deals that they're offering, in terms of their layouts or in terms of the main products that they're selling. It doesn't mean that you have to follow exactly what they're doing, but it's really important from a competitor intelligence point of view to understand what your competitors are doing. And if there's some best practice you can take from that, then it's absolutely great if you can do that and apply that to your marketing. Thank you very much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the short presentation on branding, and please like, share and subscribe. And if you are interested in any marketing advice, please reach out to us on consultusmarketing, spelled with a Z, @gmail.com, and I'd be more than happy to speak to you about your needs and requirements. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.